22 years later, Rwandans commemorate the 1994 genocide. Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders win big in the Wisconsin primary. Now it's on to New York. And from celebrities to traditional websites to viral videos, the list of the 2016 Webby Award nominees is out. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Panamanian President Juan Carlos Varela says his government will create an independent commission to review the country's financial practices in the wake of the Panama Papers scandal. Observers say Panama's economic sector tolerates a culture of secrecy, making it one of the last major jurisdictions allowing clients to hide money from legal authorities. Varela spoke about the proposed advisory commission during a televised address Wednesday night.
The government of Panama, through our Foreign Office, will create an independent committee of national and international experts of recognized expertise to evaluate our standard practices and to propose measures that will share with other countries in the world to strengthen transparency of the legal financial system. We will not only work within our country, but we will also work to benefit the rest of the world.
In the scandal, Mossack Fonseca says the millions of documents leaked from its offices this week about the offshore bank accounts of the world's powerful, rich and famous were stolen by hackers, not divulged by an insider. The scandal has touched the rich and powerful in a long list of nations, including Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, among those mentioned in the Panama Papers is Zimbabwe's leading platinum mining firm, Zimplats Holdings, which allegedly used an offshore company to pay salaries for senior managers. VOA Zimbabwe service reporter Ray Chota reviewed the papers and spoke with a Zimplats Holdings official. Ray now joins me in the studio to tell us more. Ray, welcome to Africa 54.
Yeah, welcome.
Now, you got to see these papers. Yeah, were you first surprised to see Zimbabwe or a Zimbabwean firm mentioned there?
Really, when we got into the data, I did not know what I was going to come across, although there was some information that there is a lot of stuff that is going to be unearthed from the data. So when I went through the data, I came across so many names. But what I had to do was to look at the information and try to see whether this information can make a story out of it. Yeah. Because it's not just about the data. Yeah. It's about what you interpret when you have got the data.
Exactly.
So yes, I found Zimplats, followed it up, and found something very exciting.
Now, you got to speak with an official of Zimplats, and what did they tell you?
Well, they denied any involvement and any wrongdoing, but from the information that we have from the data, it's official. Mossack Fonseca, it's a very big international law firm. It's known for, setting up companies offshores and also housing some of these companies. So the internal communication that they had indicated that this was information that is something to do with Zimplats, and we did all our best to make sure that we did get in touch with Zimplats.
Now, is Zimplats saying that they did nothing wrong in terms of, whatever business they had with Mossack Fonseca, or are they saying they don't have any offshore kind of engagement?
They are denying completely that they have nothing to do with the firms registered with Mossack Fonseca. HR Consultants was registered in the Isle of Man by a company which said it was working on behalf of Zimplats. It kept on updating Zimplats records, and they have communication that has to do with Zimplats, and Mossack Fonseca kept on updating that file with the British Army.
In fact, there's a quote in one of those papers just showing that we've received the money for the payment of the...
There is correspondence, yes, there is all that information. Yeah. But the thing is, Zimplats is saying they were never involved in any business with those companies.
Is it that they didn't know anything about those companies that they traded with but had engagements with Mossack Fonseca? I'm
not going to speak on their behalf, but I'm going to respond to the way they've responded to us. They are simply saying they have nothing to do with those companies.
Now, but from the company itself, it does acknowledge actually that they have the papers, they have all this information. In fact, they claim it was hacked. They were hacked by some people. So they're saying they do exist.
In fact, I mean, Mossack Fonseca might use their term that they can use, because we got this information from an anonymous source, which then gave to a German newspaper. And the German newspaper, when it looked at the information, they saw it was too much for them to work on their own. Therefore, they approached the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, of which I am a member. That then established the collaboration, which involved more than 375 journalists all over the world.
Well, people are saying this is just but a tip of the iceberg. What do you think?
From what I've seen, yes, sure. The question is, you can only go to print once you're satisfied with the information that you have. There are more names that are going to come, and even heads might roll. Very
explosive, amazing. Ray, thank you very much for sharing this with us.
You're welcome.
Yes. Well, Ray Choto is a reporter with VOA's Zimbabwe service. Now, Rwanda on Thursday marked the 22nd anniversary of the 1994 genocide, in which more than 1 million people, mainly Tutsi and moderate Hutus, were killed. A series of activities are taking place across the country, but the main commemoration was held at Kigali Memorial Center, where Rwandan President Paul Kagame and his visiting Tanzanian counterpart John Magufuli laid wreaths on graves in which more than 250,000 victims were buried. During the 100 days of remembrance, guests are invited to leave a message in the memorial's digital guest book as a way to remember the victims and show support to survivors. The 100-day massacre, carried out from April 7 to mid-July, was incited by the majority Hutu-led government and left hundreds of thousands of people dead, mostly among the minority Tutsi population. Now, in the race for the White House, a billionaire businessman and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump is trying to regain momentum in the race for the nomination as the campaign moves to his home state of New York. Speaking outside New York City Wednesday night, Trump mocked Cruz's condemnation of New York values during an earlier debate.
There was never anything like it in this country. The worst attack in the history of the United States. The bravery that was shown was incredible. We all lived through it. We all know people that died. And I've got this guy standing over there looking at me, talking about New York values with scorn in his face, with hatred of New York. So, folks, I think you can forget about him.
Cruz said his remark on New York values is directed toward liberal politicians, although many New Yorkers see it as an insult. Like Trump, Cruz also was greeted by some protesters in New York. He arrived there on the heels of a landslide victory over Trump in Wisconsin primary Tuesday night.
It was a turning point, I believe, in this entire election. It culminated 4 states in a row in the last 2 weeks where we have beaten Donald Trump over and over and over again.
But polls show Trump still holds a sizable lead over Cruz and Ohio Governor John Kasich ahead of the important April 19th New York primary. Meantime, on the Democratic side, Senator Bernie Sanders said Hillary Clinton is not qualified to be president after beating her in Tuesday's Wisconsin primary. Sanders has topped Clinton in the last 6 Democratic primaries or caucuses. But Clinton, who still has what may be an insurmountable lead over Sanders, returned the swipe Wednesday, saying Sanders' ideas won't work because the numbers he's put forth just don't add up. Well, the Obama administration says it will use nearly $600 million from existing Ebola resources to fight the spread of the mosquito-borne Zika virus. Senior White House officials also are urging Congress to act on the administration's emergency supplemental request of nearly just under $2 billion, so a comprehensive approach to fighting Zika can be developed. White House officials warned that without the funding, the U.S. risks not having the ability to properly respond to the Zika virus, leading to delays in mosquito control and surveillance, diagnostic testing, and vaccine development. And the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary says there are now 672 confirmed cases of Zika in the United States. Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Well, coming up, an exclusive interview with the former commander of the U.S. military's Quick Response Unit to Africa. Stay with us.
health news and notes. This is Living Better.
Sleep. The average adult needs 7 to 9 hours of it per night, and children need even more, up to 11 hours per night. People who are sleep deprived suffer a variety of problems, such as lower alert levels and cognitive ability. Now, U.S. scientists are adding another side effect: higher food intake. University of Chicago researchers followed 14 volunteers in their 20s for 4 days. Half were allowed to get a full night's sleep, but the others were restricted to 4.5 hours per night. The researchers found that even though they'd eaten full meals, the sleep-deprived subjects still ate more, and when they did, they chose high-fat and protein snacks. The authors of the study, published in the journal Sleep, say their sample was small, but the results suggest that sleep restriction leads not only to increased caloric intake, but also to higher pleasure-seeking eating. I'm Martin Seacrest for VOA's Living Better.
Welcome back. In 2012, the U.S. mission in Benghazi, Libya, was attacked by Islamic militants who killed U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens and several others. In the wake of that tragedy, the U.S. formed a quick response military unit with Marines and naval personnel that is now permanently based in Spain. Former unit commander Colonel Calvert Worth, Jr., recently spoke with VOA's Bernard Shazman about the unit and its responsibilities, which include training the security forces of several African nations, including Mali, Senegal, Guinea, Ghana, and Gabon.
Well, it's a force that in 2013 was stood up to provide a very specific crisis response capability to the geographic combatant commander, that general who commands military forces in Africa. And in the wake of the Benghazi disaster, one of the things that we wanted to have happen was ensure that the ambassador, when he calls for support, had a force that could self-deploy, get there quickly, reinforce the embassy, or provide service as required.
If an ambassador, say, calls and says, I think we need some backup here, some support, how long does it take, for example, to go from Spain to Africa? Give people an idea.
The distances, of course, are long. The African continent is vast. But what we do in order to shorten those response times is we have the ability to move forward from Maroon, Spain, to what we call cooperative security locations, which means that we can be within 2.5 hours of a call for reinforcement or a call for support.
So what is the connection to Benghazi, again, if you would tell me exactly with the mission?
Again, there's been lots of questions about Benghazi and whether or not forces were positioned so that they'd be responsive to an ambassador in trouble. And what the post-Benghazi context has done is ensure that we have built and resourced specific forces so that they can provide a very rapidly responding force that has been specifically built to either reinforce the embassy, provide a quick reaction force to reinforce personnel on the ground if the ambassador happens to be separated from the embassy, or assist in a military-assisted departure.
How many military personnel are involved in the unit this size?
We have in excess of 1,000 Marines focused at crisis response mission. And from those Marines, we also provide some theater security cooperation, which means that we also have the capacity to partner with those nations from which that have those relationships necessary to provide access to some of our crisis regions.
You also do a lot of training with forces or security people in these other African countries. Is that correct?
That's correct. And when we do that, the focus is on building capacity for the host nation, making sure that their forces also mutually benefit from the relationship, and make sure that there is, again, mutual benefit for not only the host nation, but regionally. Those countries understand that the United States is present, is willing to come to the aid of an ambassador and a nation that calls for crisis in this very specific way.
How welcome are the U.S. forces into Africa?
Our experience has been that the forces with whom we've worked have been very receptive to the training, very receptive to our presence, and they understand the importance of maintaining a relationship with the United States. And therefore, when we aim to protect U.S. personnel and facilities, they have been very, very willing to support our efforts.
Thank you very much, Colonel. We really appreciate it. Our guest today was Colonel Calvert Worth, Jr., who is now stationed in North Carolina. And welcome back to the United States.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, celebrating online culture. A look at the nominees for the 2016 Webby Awards. We'll be right back.
The opportunity to discuss peace and security, especially with regards to terrorism.
تناول المناقشات والحوارات
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Now brace yourself, Internet. Another round of Webby nominations is coming your way. The 2016 Webby Awards nominees feature the best of the Internet, spanning media, entertainment, web culture, and more. They've been narrowed down from nearly 13,000 entries sent in from 70 countries. Vice Media leads the pack with 60 nominations, followed by National Geographic, Google, HBO, and the New York Times, which each received 10 or more nominations. The list of stars up for awards include Caitlyn Jenner, Beyonce, Trevor Noah, and Jimmy Fallon. Even First Lady Michelle Obama is nominated for a cameo in a funny or die video spoofing her healthy eating campaign. The winners will be announced April 26th. Now, awards aren't just for humans. A U.S. military dog who lost her leg while on duty in Afghanistan has become the first to be awarded the animal equivalent of a British Victoria Cross in London. German Shepherd Luca, age 12, completed over 400 separate missions during 6 years of active service with the U.S. military, where she would sniff out explosives. Her final patrol came in March 2012 when she discovered an improvised explosive device in Afghanistan. As Lucas searched for the device, a second bomb exploded and she instantly lost her front leg and suffered severe burns to her chest. But miraculously, no soldiers were injured in that blast. Well, and finally, imagine a bionic hand that can curve wood and stone. The apparatus is a wearable glove equipped with motors and sanding heads that can shape solid materials. The device creates a more intimate experience where fine movements of the hand can shape a solid object. The concept is the brainchild of a student at Royal College of Art in London. The small size of each filing attachment allows the user to reach into crevices or create delicate shapes. The inventor says he envisions the apparatus to work with other methods of modeling, such as 3D printing, and that is what is trending today.
Down almost to
Welcome back. I'm Lenore Moudou. April 7th is World Health Day. The goal this year is to beat diabetes. In its first ever global report on diabetes, the World Health Organization reveals that the number of adults with diabetes has quadrupled since 1980. The WHO says globally an estimated 422 million adults were living with diabetes in 2014, compared to 108 million in 1980. Over the past decades, diabetes prevalence has risen faster in low and middle income countries than in high income countries. Diabetes caused 1.5 million deaths in 2012, and diabetes is a serious chronic disease that occurs either when the pancreas does not produce enough insulin, a hormone that regulates blood sugar, or when the body cannot effectively use the insulin it produces. Now, experts say diet and exercise can help prevent some cases of diabetes, and we will discuss this with our guest, Ron McDonald Jr. Mr. McDonald is a certified fitness and nutrition coach and owner of Mind and Muscle Fitness in Greenbelt, Maryland. Ron, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So some types of diabetes can be prevented with diet and exercise. Tell us about that. What type of diet are we looking at?
So you're talking about type 2 diabetes, what they consider a lifestyle disease, right? So it has to do with managing your blood sugar, as you mentioned, right? So we have to watch the type of carbohydrates we eat. We have to watch the type of the sweets that we eat, those kind of things, and regulate our blood sugar so we're not putting our body under so much necessity for insulin release, basically.
So when we talk about carbohydrates and everything, what should we try to avoid, like on a regular basis, or eat less of it?
Well, we need to watch out for the simple carbs, right? So there's complex carbs and there's simple carbs. So complex carbs, the way I like to term it, is the carbs you have to chew, like broccoli, spinach, kale, all the vegetables and produce that you have, because it requires mechanical energy to break it down.
Yes.
Sweets, ice cream, sugar, cookies, doesn't require anything. As soon as you put it in your mouth, it melts right away, right? And so those are the simple carbs, or even juices and sugary juices and high sugary soft drinks and stuff like that we need to watch out for.
Now let's talk exercise. This is a challenge for many people. And what can we do on a daily basis? It doesn't have to be very dramatic. You know, someone like me doesn't look for anything too complex. What can we do? Show us some basic steps.
Well, first and foremost, people just need to move more, right? Find more ways to move, right? So obviously using the natural environment, walking more. Walking is a wonderful exercise. You can control the speed, you can control the tempo or the intervals and the distance and your pace. So walking is a great place to start.
Okay.
Right? Outside of that, we just want to work on basic movement. So we sit a lot, so we want to work on squats, right? So we want to be able to get our feet hip width apart, making sure our knees and toes are tracking, and just sitting in a chair, keeping my chest up and lower as down as far as you can.
Okay, and here I have Sanusi and Adele who are helping us.
Right. So let me watch it. Yeah, so just down and up. Yep. Make sure you keep your heels down.
Is that a wrong way to do a squat? I mean,
absolutely. So that's why I said making sure your knees and toes are tracking, those kind of things. Keeping your chest up. I should be able to read your shirt when you come up, right? Because it's more about your hips and your glutes. And we need to use those muscles because we do a lot of sitting and we're not using those muscles as much as we used to, right? And then you can get creative. So now add those squats. I want you to add a knee lift. So by lifting your leg up, right? So by doing that, lifting that leg, now you're incorporating your abs. You're getting some balance because now I'm on one leg. Right, so now you're getting more of that, and you're picking up the pace. So it's going to pick up the intensity a little bit.
And this works the lower part of the body.
It does work the lower body and the abs as well.
And the abs as well. And we can make this fun. We can have music and just make it really, really fun.
Absolutely.
So you do your squat. What else do you do?
Good. So even with those things, so we can go lateral. So you just turn sideways to me. So we want movement takes place in multiple planes, right? So we can go forward, we can go sideways, and we can rotate. So now we want to work on sideways. So feet together, right? So just act like you're stepping out and reaching for your shoe, and then come back to the middle, right? So we're just going to work this one side. Just go. Balance. So so you're going to work on balance there as well, right? So this is working our hips.
This is great.
Right? This is working on our lower body the same as before, right? And if you pick up the tempo and do it in various ways, you can get some heart rate in there. You get a little cardio. So it's one of very good exercises. So you're working on movements that you're required to do in life. Just keeping it very simple. Simple things.
Simple things, exactly, and that's the idea.
Right. And
we
you
can
just
do
build
it
from
at home. We don't need, to have a special equipment.
No.
Let's see, what else can we do? Let's see if we look at the upper body, for example.
Right.
What can we do?
So for everybody, usually you're going to need some type of equipment, dumbbells, those kind of things, but you can do things on the floor as well.
Yes, let's try that.
Let's go get down. I'm going to get you into a plank position, right? So we're going to get here. Let me make sure it's a plank. So we'll make sure your wrists and your shoulders are in alignment. Right, so get your wrists and shoulders in alignment here. No, not yet. So move this hand inside. There we go. So we're in a plank position. So first we're working on our abs here, right? So our hips are tight. This is one of the best exercises for your core. So not a whole lot of crunches, just holding this position. Gravity's pulling down, so I'm working on my abs.
Okay.
So from here, I would say now take each opposite hand, tap your shoulder, and alternate. Do a shoulder tap. And while you're doing that, try to control your body. So you don't want limited movement. So by doing that, now I'm working my triceps, I'm working my shoulder, and I'm giving my body a little bit more challenge.
Okay.
Right? Because most people can't do push-ups, until you get more fit or stronger. So you can start here. This is a good place to start.
How are you feeling? This looks like it takes a lot in terms of balance,
you're going from 4 points of contact to 3.
Yes.
So now you're trying to balance on 3. So balance is involved, your abs are involved, all that. And it'll actually get your heart rate up.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
This is great.
Yeah. And I usually recommend people do this during a commercial break, right?
Yes.
The show's on, right in the commercial break.
TV?
While you're watching TV.
You do
Keep
that
it very
quickly,
simple.
2 minutes.
All right, you guys relax. You guys are going for it.
Okay, you're doing great. I guess you can.
You can stop now.
Yes.
Good job.
Good job. Okay, let's see. Show me something I can do. I'm wearing heels, but I can do it. Something simple that I can do.
Right, so I like to do balance. So getting single leg. So we spend a lot more time on one leg than we actually realize. So find your center first.
Okay.
And then act like you're bending at the hip and reach right about here and then stand up. Try to keep that one leg off the ground the whole time.
All right. This is fun, actually.
Right. If you have to, you can touch the floor. If not, come back up. Yeah. So this is where you're working on your hamstrings.
Okay.
And we need balance, right? As we get older, slip and falls happen more often. So stand back up, right? So down and then stand up and try to keep that leg off the ground.
Okay.
It's very simple. It's like, regular PE that we used to have when we were kids.
Okay.
Same thing.
Now, there's one thing that I hear often about before doing exercise, you have to stretch.
You have to warm up, right? So not static stretching, but a dynamic warm-up. So the moves that we would do would emulate the moves that we're getting ready to do for exercise. So part of our warm-up would be squats, right?
Okay,
we could be standing here and just lift our legs, right? So we want to do active. At the end of a workout, we would actually probably hold the stretch. Right? But in the beginning, you want to do a dynamic warm-up.
Okay.
Right.
So if you were to sum up in terms of preventing diabetes, but just in general, keeping a healthy lifestyle, what would you say we need to do?
Try to move more. Definitely incorporate more movement, even around the house, doing your chores, or being more intentional, like actually going out and taking a walk, those kind of things. And if you need to, seek out a healthcare professional, but you can do a lot on your own as well in the beginning, just by finding simple movements just like this. Squats, planks, those kind of things, balance movements, all those will help you build a foundation so that if you do seek out professional help, you'll be ready for that.
Okay.
And then outside of that, nutrition. First thing you can do is drink water. Make water your normal drink of choice. At least 80% of the time, make water your #1 drink of choice. The other 20, you can have fun and enjoy different things.
Once in a while.
It's life. You're supposed to enjoy yourself. But
I like this squat.
If it's the other way around, then that's the problem. A lot of juices and a lot of liquids will have a lot of sugar in them, and most people are not considering those calories that we're drinking calories rather than the food we eat. Right?
Okay.
And then just watch the starches, watch your carbs, the breads, the pastas, the rice. They need to be done in more moderation.
Okay,
we need more produce.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Absolutely.
It was great to have you. And that was Ron McDonald Jr. He is a certified fitness and nutrition coach and owner of Mind and Muscle Fitness here in Greenbelt, Maryland, outside Washington, D.C. And that's our health report for today. Make sure you do your squat. And for more health tips and news, find me on Twitter at Linor Moudou. Vincent, come here for the squat. Hey,
come on.
You have to do it. You can do it. You can do it. Let's all do it together, right? Yes.
Well, thanks a lot, Lino, and be sure to watch for Linor Moudou's health reports every Thursday and Tuesday right here in Africa 54. It's cool, eh?
Yes.
Well, and that's our show. Have a good night.
In a suit. He did it in a suit. How impressive is that? Oh, look at that. Look at that. I can do it. I can do it. Okay, let's see. We'll do that.
Let's do this.
Wow.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Some expressions we use in American English really sound terrible. Let's hope Jonathan and Anna are not this careless.
Throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I have bad news.
What?
The boss wants to reorganize the office and change the way we're doing everything.
But some things are really working well. Why throw the baby out with the bathwater?
I agree, but she says we should start fresh. Again.
To throw the baby out with the bathwater means to throw something valuable away with something unwanted. Many language experts say this idiom entered English from the German expression, pour the baby out with the bath. I'm sure it sounds just as unsettling in German. And that's English in a Minute.